Hello and welcome back. And in this video, we're going to be talking about foundation models, capabilities, and limitations. Foundation models bring the magic of large language model, the same kind of AI behind ChatGPT. And this is directly into your iPhone, iPad, or Mac. Now, for years, these powerful models ran only in massive data centers, using industrial-grade GPUs and enormous energy. Apple flipped that model by making these LLMs run locally, faster, private, even offline, right on the silicon of your device. Now, it came with certain challenges. One of the biggest challenges was shrinking a giant. Fitting a giant language model into a phone isn't easy. Large language models are made up of parameters, billions or even trillions of them. And this number represents the information that has been learned by these models. Now, each of these numbers take up memory. For instance, a trillion parameter model could require over a terabyte of space, far more than any mobile device can handle. Now, to make this possible, Apple engineers relied on two key steps: parameter reduction, essentially reducing the number of parameters while keeping the model useful and intelligent. This process distills a language model into a smaller, efficient version that still performs well for essential tasks. Second step they applied was quantization, compressing each parameter by lowering its precision. It's like reducing the resolution of a photo. You lose a bit of a detail, but file size shrinks dramatically. This technique not only reduces the size, but also improves the processing speed and lowers the battery use with almost no visible loss in output quality. The result that we got is a powerful on-device AI. The end results are remarkable. Apple's foundation models runs 3 billion parameters, each stored in just 2 bits. And this fits comfortably into 8 gigabytes of memory. The foundation model is optimized for tasks like text summarization, entity extraction, text understanding, creative writing, game dialogues, and interactions. This means that you get intelligent, privacy-preserving AI that works seamlessly on your device even without internet connection. But there are some limitations. There are limitations with not just Apple's foundation model, but overall with all the LLMs. All large language models, including the Apple ones, have knowledge cutoff. They only know what they know and what they were trained on up to a specific date. That means they can't access or learn new events or new real-time information without being trained again. For example, Apple's foundation model currently have knowledge up to October 2023. So they're great for general reasoning and creativity, but not for real-time fact or breaking news. LLMs also hallucinate. They confidently produce incorrect, nonsensical answers, and sometimes struggle with the complex multi-step reasoning. Apple's own AI research team showed that even small changes to a prompt, like swapping name or number, can cause accuracy drop. This highlights that the intelligence that LLMs contain is still pattern-based rather than truly being logical or a general intelligence. Now, this gap can be bridged, and Apple provided a version for that, and that's called tool calling. To help address some of these knowledge limitations, Apple introduced tool calling directly into its foundation models. This is similar to other protocols like MCP introduced by Anthropic and used in various different other LLM models. The tool calling feature allows apps to connect the model to external tools or data sources, extending its functionality and keeping responses more current and useful. We'll explore tool calling in depth in upcoming videos. Now, foundation model has some safety concerns. All generative AI systems have safety concerns. A major concern is with the chat style apps. Now, whenever chat style apps are present, they pose a risk because user can enter prompt directly into the model, which means they can unintentionally or intentionally introduce unsafe or malicious input, similar to SQL injection back in the days when SQL used to be primary source for your data, where data was stored. Now, any data submitted by the user or fetched from the external sources must be treated with untrust. It should be untrusted, and it should be treated to validate whether it's matching your models or your app's expectation or not before feeding into the model itself. Now, there are some guardrails and restricted content that Apple has introduced. So Apple has trained its foundation model with some built-in guardrails to recognize and handle sensitive topics carefully. These guardrails help detect and block content related to self-harm, violence, adult material, both in prompt and in generative responses. Now, these protections are essentials, but they also mean that if for some reason your app's response or app's purpose falls somewhere in between, it might be restricted from these generations. Now, you can mitigate users' input risk. So if your app allows your user to enter text directly into the model, you have increased risk of unsafe input. That's why Apple recommends treating all the user prompts with and as untrusted and potentially dangerous. So whenever possible, you should avoid taking free text input. Let user choose from fixed options or predefined prompt. At a stricter level, you can let user pick topic from the list or have your app combine basically a controlled pre-written prompt. This approach can make models' output more predictive and safer. You can also employ other models trained using CreateML and CoreML to filter out anything that actually avoids or hits the guardrail and content safety limits, and you can then feed that output from the other model into the foundation models to produce the output that you're generating, your app is expecting. Now, handling model output is also requires some safety checks. So you need to have a proper handling to make sure that your model is producing the right and safe output. You can use generable models to restrict model's response to a predefined set of options. And you can always handle guardrail violations gracefully by informing users that their request couldn't be completed because it contains some restrictive responses. And you can guide them for the supported actions. It is important to test and validate your prompts regularly, especially after every foundation model update. This ensures that they continue to behave safely and stay relevant and work as expected for your app. Now, Apple has provided a safety guidelines. So for complete list of prohibited topics, I would highly recommend you to visit Apple's acceptable use of requirement for foundation models framework on developer.apple.com. Even you somehow bypass models guardrail, using restricted content could cause your app to be rejected from the App Store. So you should always learn Apple's approach for AI safety and improving safety from generative model output and human interface guideline for generative AI, both of them where they are available on Apple's developer website. Now, before we move on to the next step, let's summarize. So in summary, Apple's foundation models marks a major step towards personal, private, and secure on-device AI. They balance performance and privacy while maintaining a strong focus on safety and responsible use. As we move forward, we'll explore how you can use these models effectively, from tool calling to safe app integration, bringing real-time intelligence right into the palm of your hand. Let's move on to the next video, where we're going to start exploring the guided generations. I'll see you guys there. Thank you.